It is about that time. We're live. My name is Jared. I'm here talking with Chad Chig Martin, one of the gubernatorial candidates for Alabama's governor's race in 2026. It's not quite around the corner, but it is close, close enough where you should be paying attention to your candidates and figuring out who you plan on voting for, especially in the primaries that will be coming up. So I know that I have questions for our candidates, and I've reached out to a couple. Chad has thankfully agreed to come on in and chat with me here live. If you have questions, feel free to put those into the comments, and I will do my best to keep up with those and ask them if they're not already in my list of other comments from other constituents across the state. But feel free to put those in the chat, and be happy to interact and ask those of Chad if they're not already going to be asked. So, Chad, why don't you give your spiel first? Why don't you introduce yourself, tell people what the platform is, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you. It's good to be here with a former gubernatorial candidate and yourself. I appreciate you doing that because you did it and you kind of know what challenges people in not necessarily the Democratic Party, but other parties and write-ins and all. It's a tough road, and so you understand that. But I'm Chad Chig Martin. I'm from down in southeastern Alabama, a little town called Enterprise. Most people know Enterprise as it's one of the last cities before you get to Panama City Beach if you're traveling through Alabama. So, I ran as a write-in independent. I ran in the last election as a Democratic candidate on the ballot and didn't fare so well. And so I decided I would try this thing one more time, and here I am. But I'm a small businessman out of this area. I kind of got my teeth cut in business as a small business owner about 21 years ago. I started a small industrial supply and company, and we sell mainly things to military bases that do aircraft maintenance, and we sell the safety products they may need. And then I started about 6 years ago the first hemp store in the state of Alabama, Honeysuckle Hemp Company. And to be quite honest with you, a lot of people probably don't know and why I was first. A lot of that had to do, I was out on the campaign trail learning about things that most Alabamians didn't know what was going on, because I had advocates coming to me telling me about this new wave of stuff, CBD. And so I was real fortunate to start that company. And so far, up to a few weeks ago, for some reason, the sales went down in that stuff.
Yeah, unknown reasons, right? No, that's a huge contention for people for sure. So that's actually not a bad segue. So that's a question that a couple people have asked, and I'm curious what your take is on it as a gubernatorial candidate. Like, obviously we've effectively banned practically everything, not technically, but for all intents and purposes for small shop owners. The vast majority of their products are now going to be illegal on I think January 1st of next year, but they're supposed to be getting rid of them now. Right. What's your take as as a gubernatorial candidate? What do you hope or plan to do to change that, if at all?
Yeah, and first of all, my heart goes out to so many CBD store owners across the state, because what most people don't understand, this wasn't a corporate-driven world. This was a small family-owned business type of world, and most of the shops had 2 or 3 people max. So these are truly small businesses. What we've done so far is, because our campaign, and Jared, I think you would acknowledge this, we're doing better this go around than I've ever done before on getting our name out there. And so we've had more people offer resources to us. And one of the resources, we had a person that just graduated from New York University in policy law, and they just passed the bar about a month ago. And one of the things they offered the campaign was that they wanted to take a look at this policy that was written and passed the legislation on the HB 445 bill, and try to see if there's any adequacies in that or any things that were done incorrectly. But on top of that, they're wanting to rewrite policy. So when we go into office, we do have some policy to present to overturn HB 445.
Yeah, and that's that's an important distinction, that a lot of the questions that get asked, not necessarily from the people in my comments this year, thankfully, but in the past, people have suggested things that the governor isn't capable of doing. So I'm glad to see you acknowledging the limitations of the role and saying, we can present policy, but it's really not anything that you can do to change the law. The job of the governor is to then execute the law, to actually implement it and put that into practice. So I appreciate you approaching that from that perspective, and I can appreciate the complexity of having to address that regularly. So what you said, you were going to look at it to see if there's anything that was done incorrectly, but what would be your ultimate goal?
First of all, my ultimate goal would be to reverse that policy and let people get back to operating their businesses and being a profitable business. Because right now, I can just give you a real life example. Our store, and which is a one-man small store, like most of them across the state, we have one employee and we pay her extremely well, and it was all working beautifully. And what was the question again? I got off track.
Well, what's your ultimate goal with cannabis, both recreationally and medicinally? Just in general, what's your pie in the sky? What would you want to do?
If I could do anything, I would like to decriminalize cannabis in the state of Alabama. I would like for citizens to be able to have a limited amount that they can grow in their yard, enough for them to satisfy their needs. The reason I say, people don't like the fact that I say limited, but even if you decriminalize, citizens will not be able to sell cannabis among others, because that requires, just like any other business license, tax, whatever the taxes may be. But I'm also for us turning recreational cannabis into a great thriving business here in Alabama. And a lot of people say, oh, and you can tax the heck out of it. I really don't believe that model. I believe that you can tax it just like a normal product here in Alabama and still make tons of money. And I think that the revenue that cannabis would bring in, like people want the lottery for education. I think if there was cannabis being sold legally and regulated here in the state of Alabama, I think we would have money to go and do things like revamp mental health care in the state and things that are just being ignored. I think it would give us a fund to do a lot of things, and the other thing I will say this, one of the things about cannabis too, is we're an agricultural state. Everybody knows that in the all 50 states. And I think that we have an opportunity that we could be a leader and at the forefront of this industry, especially in the Southeast, and train our farmers to get into the natural medicine world. And we also have agricultural colleges here in the state of Alabama. And I say, not only can we be a leader in the farming of natural medicine and herbs and things like that, I believe that we could also implement teaching systems where we actually train people to become experts in this industry. And I just think there's so many things we could do, but we're normally sitting back on our heels here in Alabama. We're not moving forward. And so that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
So let's see. We'll go back up to, I don't want to skip over anybody, but we kind of segued into one of the questions that was further down the list, but we will, I'll jump back up. Do you have any plans for the prison system here in the state? It's one of the questions from Reese on TikTok.
Well, let me just say this first of all. I'm a person that's totally against private prison corporations running these super prisons, mega prisons in our state. I think the state has to be adequate enough to be in control of their prisons. That way we can actually keep firsthand information on what's going on inside of those prisons with inmates. Even though some of our citizens end up inmates, they still have rights that they're afforded, like health care. And, I'm a big believer that we could do a better job in the prison system with reform and having trade programs that are more available than they are right now in the prisons. I would actually like to have it where our prisoners can come out with a license in a trade and ready to go right out into the community and go to work with a good job. And I believe that our parole and pardoning boards have to be fair and not just trying to keep people in prison to keep the cell filled up and the money flowing into everybody. So, and I will tell you this, I don't speak out of both sides of my mouth on that. When my brother was 40 years old, I got a phone call about 9 o'clock at night that he was sick. And then about 9:30 at night that he was deceased. So I had to make that ride in the middle of the night to pick up my brother's belongings in a jail cell. So it is a personal matter with me too. So
the question that I will ask, because I looked into this extensively previously, and the situation with the Pardon and Parole Board, how do you plan on addressing that?
Yeah, well, the one thing you can do as governor is you do have the most powerful voice in the state, and you should have people that listen to you. And so, I'm just going to let it be known from the highest level that this is not acceptable, and we've got some things to change on this, because we can't keep good people locked up that deserve to be getting out there into society. And to me, not just based off of the status of the prisoner, but that's the best thing for our state as a whole, is to get these people back productive. I mean, a person out making and earning money and taking care of their family is a lot better than somebody being kept in a prison cell on taxpayers' dimes. I mean, just from the business side of
it. It will be a tough road.
Yeah. And Jared, I wanted to say this, and then you ran for governor, so you know this. A lot of this stuff, man, you don't know till you sit behind that seat in Montgomery what all you can do. That's the truth of the matter. We're just common people in this state, and who knows what power you have once you get behind that seat. And if I have power to do something, I'm going to use it to help in that situation.
Yeah, on paper, a lot of it's written out. There's some that it's kind of gray because you're over specific segments of the government as the executive branch. But things like the Pardon and Parole Board, you technically appoint those members. The part that not a lot of people have realized in the past, at least, is that that selection of people you can appoint is not up to you. Those are pre-selected by another group of people. Hint, hint, wink, wink, the legislature. So when you're paying attention to who you're going to vote for, you can't just pick the executive side. Like, you have to focus on those other campaigns and the people who will be representing you in your own state legislature, because there are 3 people in that have the say on who we can even appoint to the board. So as a slight aside, pay attention to who you're voting into the state legislature, because they have an impact on what the governor can do. And in this state, it's a lot more than most people expect. So
but the one thing that's not measurable is the effectiveness of your influence also. I mean,
sure.
If you want to work to get something done, you can not just sit back and do nothing and try to use your influence in a positive
for sure
way. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, there are some gray areas and some unknowns that you can't quantify, but there are a lot of stuff that's written in the 800 or 900 pages worth of state code and our newly reworded constitution. So one of the other questions from Reese also was around minimum wage. Is there anything you have any plans for addressing the minimum wage in our state?
I can just tell you what my belief system is on that. Somebody trying to make a living at $7.25 per hour is really ridiculous to even think. I mean, if you put a family of two people making minimum wage, you can't even do the math to where they can afford a decent apartment or one car and the insurance along with everything and your food. And so we have to, we're the sixth ranked state in poverty in America, and we seem to continue to act that way towards our citizens with that mentality. And I'd just say this, I've given it a lot of thought, and I can just tell you, as a small business owner, I actually have three businesses. And so with employees, I can tell you this, I think that a fair wage is somewhere around $15 an hour. And I'm not saying that I know 100% how to make that happen, but that's a starting point of what I think it should be. And I think you're not even making that great a living at that.
As of 4 years ago, there was something like $15 or $16 would be the bare minimum to live in the least expensive county in our state. That was kind of the bare minimum there. Yeah. So
let me just say this, and a lot of people don't realize too, if you're making that $7.35, the time and this is just kind of like an average, you take all the taxes associated with that is taken out of it, including the sales tax when you walk up to a register to buy something, you're literally getting about 50% of that money. I mean, so yeah, you're really trying to live off of $3.50 to $4, So yeah, I just wanted to say that. So
yeah. So follow-up question. It's not on the list, but you mentioned the fact that you're a small business owner. Are you maintaining that wage at your current companies?
Oh yeah. The lowest employee in my company, and it's funny, sometimes I say this when I've done lives on my page, and people will say, "Will you hire me?" But we have nobody making less than $20 an hour that works for us. Plus receiving, we pay bonuses when the company is doing well, because I'm a big believer in that motivates people to do better for the company when there's opportunities for them to make more money. And so, yeah, we're very. I can tell you this: my whole concept of business is for my employees to stay with me for a long time, hopefully till they retire. And that's the way I try to treat them and manage them. I mean, I want to see them living a good life. So
glad to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So our next question comes from I asked how to pronounce this because it's just a made up nickname. They're a username at this point, but we're going to go with K-Chan on TikTok. Do you have any plans for helping nurses, especially regarding unions and then also patient ratios? So we'll stick with unions first. Do you have any thoughts or plans for helping with, we'll say nurses unions specifically in this case?
Well, and I haven't dealt with any nurses unions specifically, but I will say this: when it comes to unions, and this is just my business approach, I actually was endorsed by the West Alabama Labor Council, union represented company over in, somewhere around Demopolis or somewhere. So, so what I tell people is, running for governor, you kind of have to be a friend of both the unions and the commercial world, because that's what our state is made up with. So I'm going to work with both sides there. There really is no other choice, because I mean, we've got so many union jobs in the state, from mining to auto workers to nurses and aerospace mechanics. And I mean, I am actually doing something with the aerospace mechanics union coming up in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, I got to work with them as far as it comes to healthcare and things like that. I can just say this: one of the things that we're focused on is these communities where the hospitals are closing down. We think it's important to at least get basic healthcare centers up and running in those communities, where men and women can do their regular checkups and basic healthcare needs. And I'm acknowledging that. that's one of the things I hear from constituents a lot is how far they're having to drive just to get a basic healthcare type check. And so, yeah, I mean, we've got problems and holes there, and I acknowledge that. But as far as solving the healthcare issues of nurse to patient ratio, that's definitely something I understand, and I don't know quite what to do with that yet.
All right, I'm sure Kate Jones, you appreciate you looking into it and finding a
Yes,
a way to get a way to help out with those ratios.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's see. And just a quick reminder, if anybody's watching live, you can put in comments and they will show up on my end, and I'll happy to put that in the list to ask Chad while you're watching. If not, obviously you can check out his social media, check out his website, and fill out. I think you have a form on your website as well. Is that right? For people to a form on your website for people to get in touch?
I don't think so. Not on our website.
Okay.
Yeah,
I would suggest doing that, and that way people can reach out.
Okay.
And that way, if they have questions, they can reach out to you from your website. But for now, until there's a form on the website, check out Chad's social media if you have questions and reach out to him there. Let's see. Samerlees asked about your position and policy ideas for abortion rights.
Okay, so, and this is one question I always trying to answer in the long version because I think it's fair for Alabamians to know how I feel. And so, personally, when it comes to abortion, and I'm just speaking for me, Chad Martin, not the state of Alabama, I use this example. If I were to get a lady pregnant, and I'm in right now, I would offer if she was willing to carry the baby, I would raise the baby. Okay, personally. But if she chose not to carry that baby, I completely understand that. And now when it gets to how I feel about it at the state level, I definitely believe that's an individual liberty and freedom, medical choice of a woman. And so I don't believe that the government should be involved in men or women's personal health care. And I think all choices, should be made without pressure, free and clear by any lady to make that choice. So I will say this, I take it a step farther because people just like to answer it and leave it there. I would like to have programs in the state and every county where if there were pregnant young ladies that were, or any age lady that were basically having a tough time dealing with this mentally and emotionally, I would like to offer, and this is totally if they wanted to do it, everything is voluntarily, but I would like to offer services to them where there is counseling, and if something they wanted to do was carry the child and give it away to a family that was unable to have children and kind of help other families and offer this, but these things are just offered to a pregnant person. I mean, I just don't think we need to leave people on islands by themselves during such difficult times. And I will say this, if you think about how unfair the whole abortion and pregnancy thing is, a woman can only produce children once in a 12-month cycle. I mean, she can possibly get pregnant twice unless there's miscarriages or something like that. And so everything, all the limitations are always on the woman. Let's not let women do this or that. But at the end of the day, the guy that got her pregnant can literally produce babies every day or multiple times a day for the rest of the year, depending on what kind of person they are.
Sure.
So, not me.
I know where you're heading. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, all of it all falls on the woman, and it's just not fair and it's not right. But yeah, I believe in freedom of choice medically on anything related to health matters.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you want to go into detail. That by in and of itself is that's being pro-choice. I know that people want to make it more complicated than that sometimes, but that's what that stance comes down to is you're pro-choice. The person who is pregnant should have the choice to either continue being pregnant and hope to eventually give birth, or to terminate the pregnancy, or if they don't have a viable way of continuing to be pregnant, going to a doctor and terminating just for strictly medical purposes. Any of those are valid choices. And that's kind of where or why that position is called pro-choice. So
and I truly believe there are some women that get put in the position that they know they can't afford to have a baby or this or that or the other, but they're also torn emotionally from the choice they're having to make. And I'm just saying we need to be there on both ends to support women and not just
no matter what choice they make.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let's see. We talked about minimum wage already. So the next question, I think you hinted at it earlier, but I don't think you mentioned where you stand on it. But somebody's bringing up having the lottery in Alabama. They didn't specify how it would be, implemented or what it would be used for. But what are your stances on having a lottery in the state?
I think we're so close right now on lottery that the one thing we haven't had is an actual governor that has got all on board with it. And I understand the governor doesn't make that decision, but it sure doesn't help to have some enthusiasm on it from the governor's office. But here's the way I feel about the lottery. We obviously, the 4 states around us all have the lottery. Some have gaming, and we build schools all around our state while our kids sit in schools and the buildings are dilapidating and the schoolroom desks are from the 1960s. And it just doesn't make sense. 46 out of 50 states now have the lottery. And it's just kind of funny that with the 4 that don't, they sit in a bad spot in the education rankings. It's kind of, there's a correlation there. And so, yes, I believe that we should have I believe that the lottery should be for educational purposes. And I do think we can pass that, actually.
It was very popular 4 years ago, at least from everybody that I spoke with. I have a different perspective, and we can chat about that at some point if you'd like to. But
go ahead and tell me now. Go ahead and tell me now.
I mean, for me, the lottery, I get where people like the idea of it. The concern is it disproportionately negatively impacts people who are already disadvantaged. So people use it as a way of trying to get out of a bad spot when we have other ways of raising capital in our state that don't involve the lottery. It might be harder to accomplish, but they wouldn't put more pressure on people who are already impoverished. So I never wanted to implement the lottery, and that was pretty controversial for some of the people who wanted to vote for me a few years ago. But I don't think it's the best way to get more money into the education department, personally. But I understand why people want to implement it. It's not really up, like you mentioned, it's not really up to the governor. So I didn't ever want to push for it. But I think there are better ways to do that, including raising taxes on those who are overly wealthy at this point. There's the cap on, I don't remember the name of the specific tax, but there's a specific income tax that's capped that is extremely low in our state compared to a lot of other states, and we could raise that cap and then bring in a ton of money and not have to have people casting their money onto a lottery to try and better their education, which those areas are the ones that are typically going to need that education bonus anyway. I say bonus, but the influx of cash into their education system are the impoverished communities because of the way the education system is funded already. So I don't think it's the best plan personally. So
that's good. That's all right.
I would encourage people to think about alternative methods other than just putting the onus back on the communities that need that money already. So let's see, that was the lottery. And then this is similar. Do you have any other plans for addressing the poor education infrastructure we have and the lack of funding other than the lottery?
Here's the thing. I've done a lot of thinking about our educational system. I am a product of the Alabama State education public school system. And from what I've seen, it seems like leadership is a real problem in the public school division in the state of Alabama. And what I would like to do, as simple as this and crazy as this sounds, I believe that there are certain things in Alabama that we really need to invest in. And one is, I think we need to bring some of the top educational program managers in the country that are in these states with the highest test scores and the highest ranking systems, and recruit these people, get them to Alabama, and help them teach us how to implement a successful educational program. You follow from the best is what I believe. And so I think that's something that I would personally like to do.
All right. Let's see. I think I accidentally skipped over somebody or one of the questions.
Take your time. Take your time, Jared.
Yep. So we already talked about HB 445 earlier. Let's see. All right. So there is one question that's come up several times. So I don't have a direct person to put it under, but it's multiple people who have asked. And that is, it's two-part for me. One is, have you in the past voted for Trump? But also the follow-up to that would be, regardless of if you have in the past, do you have plans to protect our state from I'm going to use the term regime, and I'm doing it on purpose because I think they're more than administering personally. So I will put a little bit of bias into the question. Do you have any plans to protect our state from the effects that are being pushed from the federal government at this point?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say, I will tell you this: we faced a lot of smear campaigns so far in this election, and that's all right. That's part of it. And one is this: I answered this directly more than 40 times, but for some reason, people want to believe in a rumor mill. I've never voted for Trump. 3 elections ago, when I ran as a write-in independent, I did not even vote in that election. Then, after that, I became a Democratic candidate. I voted all Democrat, and in the last election, I voted all Democrat. So if people get caught up and believe in false rumors, and that's exactly what's happened to those people. And I'm not. And here's the thing: I'm answering you because we're doing this forum, but I'm not going to answer that hundreds of times because people are misled or working off false information. I don't bow down to. I've faced a lot of heat for not continuing to answer that question, but once you've answered it enough, I don't keep answering it. And so when it comes to working, here's the way I feel about serving as governor here in the state of Alabama. One thing, I don't know how much you followed my campaign, but I never bash other politicians of any party, of my own party, and that's because at some point, you're going to be faced to have to work with people on behalf of the people of the state of Alabama. And if you're a governor, I mean, you have to be able to work and make and have good working relationships with anybody, regardless of who the president is in the United States, because I want to get things done for Alabamians. And if you burn all your bridges, you can't do anything for the state. So I am. If you have anything specifically you want to know about what I'm going to protect, I'll be glad to tell you. But I mean, I'm going to work as a small businessman with that attitude, working just to try to help Alabamians live a better quality of life. That's what my whole campaign is focused on.
All right. I mean, a big part that is pretty contentious now that I think you would have some influence over would be the banning of books in libraries, as an example, especially down in my area. That it's one of the our county, one of the libraries in our county is one of the ones that's being attacked attempting to get it defunded essentially by forcing them to make some calls and prevent books from being in the library. So that would be one of those policies that I'd be curious how you would hope to or plan to protect the rights of citizens to have access to materials inside of the public library.
And I had a meeting, I believe it was 2 weeks ago. We were in Huntsville, and we had a group that came to the hotel, and they met with us, and they brought a box full of books that were some of the books that were being discussed and banning. And I will tell you this, I mean, just speaking openly and honestly, some of the books that I saw, I didn't think were appropriate for young children, because they were not just pictures of nude people, but there was some, positions and things like that the pictures were in. And so, I'm not for any books that, promote sexual activity. Let's just say that for very young children, I don't see the point in some of that, but it seems to be a complicated subject, and I'm not an expert in that field, just so you know. I'm just trying to give you not answer your question, but I did meet with them, and they did explain to me how some of these books were deemed fine in Europe and places like that, because it's I believe in protecting children's innocence in some cases, and I'm not saying that I'm against banning books, because I think each book is a specific thing. You know what I mean? Is this book okay? Is this book not okay? I mean, it's kind of complicated.
Well, so I would redirect this back to the same thought along medical intervention or government intervention in medical decisions. So when you have a library, adults participate in the library as well. So saying that we shouldn't have books because children might be there prevents other people from having access to those same books. And if you want children protected, like that is a parental responsibility, not a state responsibility for preventing access to things.
When you were saying library, I'm thinking like in a school or something, like in a
libraries wholesale, because currently it's just public city libraries that are currently being attacked. So I would encourage you to look more into.
I'm sorry, Jared, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. We're internet. It's there's a delay anyway, so we were both trying to figure out who was talking next. You're good. Go ahead.
No, and I will tell you this, that it's not one of my specialties or something I'm an expert in. So I just like to make that clear, but I am listening and, trying to understand, your points and different views on it.
A resource I would give everybody, so yourself and anybody who's watching this video live or after, is Read Freely. I think it's .org. Let me do a live fact check on that to make sure I have the right website, and I'm trying to access a keyboard that's under my desk, and it's not. It's readfreelyalabama.org. So I would encourage everybody to look into that. It's a group that is trying to protect our access to materials inside libraries. So if you're not sure what's going on at this point, go check out readfreely.org or readfreelyalabama.org rather. So definitely one of the things people should check out.
Yeah, and like I said, we did have a productive meeting up in Huntsville, and it had something to do with the mom, showing me things about the Moms of Liberty or something up there. I don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's one of the things that you would be over as governor. So you have some control over that. So I would highly look into it, because it's a very timely situation. I'll phrase it that way. Let's see. Then this one it speaks back to the fact you've run 3 times now. So this is your 3rd time. So the first one. You've attempted this position, or attempted to run for this position, not attempted to run. You have attempted to win this position, or get voted into this position 3 times, including this one. What That's all, that's almost 10 years at this point. Well,
Yeah.
no, that's more than, it's 12 years. So is that math right? Hold on. That math is right. Yeah. 4 times 3, it's 12. Yeah. Don't ask me to do math live on the internet. What have you changed your mind on your position on since initially running? Like, what's something that comes to mind that you've kind of switched around on?
Well, and I want to be honest, because when you do it as a write-in independent, you really only have a limited reach, because you don't get a chance to do the interviews, and you don't get your name out. So that is a very limited role running it. And you know where I'm coming from on that. Yeah, I mean, so I really, in the last election, what happened to me and was I was on the ballot, but I didn't have any support staff. So then all of a sudden I was candidate. I was booking events. I was doing the accounting of the governor's campaign. And so it just overwhelms you, all the responsibility trying to do it yourself. And so that kind of hurt me, being able to really get out and see the citizens. So what has been different this time? Well, now I have people doing the campaign accounting. I have people building websites. I have people doing all that stuff. And now I finally, this is my first campaign, I've been able to get out and see the citizens. We're doing extremely well. I can tell you this, that sometimes when you go to these, when most of the typical candidates go to county party meetings that happen once a month, and I can just tell you this, those have gotten to like record lows of people that attend those events now. Like on a good night, there's 10 to 15 people at those meetings. So we started taking this into our own hand and holding our own meetings, and we've been able to average. We've had from 30 to 70 people at our meetings, and we've been doing these weekly. And that's one of the reasons I'm so tired. We are doing extremely well right now on the last. And let me just say this, Jared, I have not fact checked this, but I did have a reporter tell me that the last Democratic candidate was only able to raise $12,000 in the governor's race.
Oh, you talking about last year?
Yeah.
Or last election cycle? That sounds about right from my memory from keeping up with it. That sounds about right.
And so I can just tell you this.
A good chunk of that was at the early stages.
Yeah.
In cash donations, I'll say this, I don't remember exact numbers, but I was either neck and neck or raised as much cash donations as the previous like final Democratic candidate 4 years ago as an independent. Now, and that was thanks to people across the state donating $5 or $10 or $100 a year. But in cash donations, not counting corporate may be the wrong word, company donations like catering services or video production services or whatever else that she got. But the actual cash donations, it was surprisingly low, knowing that Kay Ivey at the time had been given $10+ million. So it was wild to know that even in the Democratic side, there was very little funding coming through.
Yeah, and so my point on that was we're about to do a campaign report, and this early in the cycle, and we should be close to matching that number that they had for the entire year. So we're actually raising more money. People are more involved. Since I've been able to do it just only focus on the campaign, my message is a little more refined. And I'm the first to tell people, Jared, I am not the perfect political candidate and don't claim to be. I mean, I'm a guy that I love the state, just like you did when you ran. You loved the state. You wanted to do something to help. And I don't know all the answers, but I do feel like I try to be good to people in general and kind to people, and I've had a fairly successful business career here in the state. And, I'm just going to see what happens. And right now we're doing extremely well. We've got people from the Republican Party, the Libertarian Party, publicly saying, I have been a lifelong Republican or Libertarian, and I'm going to vote for you this go around. So it's been very rewarding. And I will say this, the thing that's different about this race is the candidate that is going to be on that Republican side has a little more baggage he's carrying than other Republican candidates in the past. And what I mean by that, he's saying some very controversial and hateful things that are even dividing even Republican voters. So, I mean, if you were, and what I'm saying is fact here, you know this, you keep up with politics. If you go to things like a social media page that is a Republican friendly page and should be a Republican friendly comment, the comments are sometimes split on the about the candidate running on the Republican primary. So,
yep.
Yeah,
and it is not because of football affiliations.
Yeah, and it's not been like that in the past. Yeah. But I think people are exhausted in this political environment with the and one thing I'll tell you, you will never ever see where we are starting negative. We're trying to be positive. We're trying to just promote a positive message, and we're not going down that road no matter what. We're not going to promote divisive things or hate or anything like that, because, you know, and that's kind of what I was telling you when you were asking about working with the administration. It's kind of my whole take on things. I mean, you gotta work with people to get things done. That's the honest way I feel.
Okay. So I want to rephrase the question, because I appreciate the answer. I was asking something different.
Okay.
And what I meant was from your position as a candidate, has anything shifted since either 2018 or 2022? Has anything notable shifted in what you believe for this state?
I don't think so. When you just asked that again, I sat there and tried to think maybe where I've changed on anything, and I really feel like I have about the same message. I just have a better platform and viewing audience this go around is the difference. I mean, I will tell you this. I mean, it's just a fact that, for instance, our Facebook page, we already had a great number of people on the page. We started at 17,000 people, and now in a matter of 2 or 3 months, that's at 31,000 people. So people are coming, and I hate to use social media as a measuring stick, but when you don't have the money to run polls and do analytics, you have to use what's available to you to keep up with things.
It is a number you can use. Shouldn't be the only number, but it is a number you can use. So there's I understand the hesitation, and it is a justified hesitation on counting all of those numbers, because just because someone follows the page doesn't necessarily mean they'll vote for you. They may just be keeping up with where you're what you say and what you're up to, and on Facebook specifically, a large chunk of them could be bots. You never know. Yeah. But so I don't have any other questions that have come through. I think I've run through all of my questions that are on the list. So at this point, I just want to say thanks for taking the time to chat with me and answer the questions that I and fellow constituents have. And I'll give you one more chance to say your spiel or give people ways to get in touch or help out with the campaign.
This is a high-profile interview. 2 former governor candidates here. So no, hey, listen, I'm glad we got to meet. I always knew about you and all, and I never got an opportunity to meet you. And listen, I completely understand that, like, you and I see things a little bit of a different way on things, and that's okay. I mean, but guess what? At the end of the day, we can sit and we can talk about it, and maybe we can learn from each other. I mean, I'm always willing and open to listen to people. And I will say this. Everybody, and I mean this, everybody has a seat at the table with me. And I mean, all I ask is you show the same respect and that I'm going to show you every time. And that's what I'm going to do. And I appreciate you letting me be here, man. It's a real honor. You got a great name in the state of Alabama. You know, you're good to people and you've done good things, and I appreciate you letting me be here.
I appreciate the kind words. Anybody else? If you have questions for Chad, reach out on social media for now. And again, I'm going to encourage you to get a contact form on that website, and that way people can reach out directly.
You know who I'm going to talk to about that already.
Get that addressed, and then people can reach out to you there. But from now, check them out on social media. Do you happen to know what platforms you're on off the top of your head?
Yeah, we're on, our biggest by far is Facebook, and we'll be sharing this live on our this not live. We will be sharing this on our page. And then I'm fairly new to TikTok. They're brutal on me on TikTok, so but I still participate. And then I'm on Instagram and I'm on X. But we try to. We've never yet said no to any podcast or interview in the state, no matter if it's people that are for us or against us. And I hope that's what people will see, that if you anything, we come, we respectfully work with people and answer questions to the best of our ability. And if I don't know just like some of the things you asked about, I'm telling you, I'm not an expert on them, but I feel that you deserve to know at least kind of what my thought process is, minimum. And I gave that to you honestly. So, hopefully people respect that.
Copy that. Well, have a great rest of the night, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. And I will see people online at some other point. Chad, we may run into each other at something. We'll see.
Yeah, and Jared, maybe when I'm around you, you can come out to an event or something. We'd love to.
Yeah, if you're in this area, let me know.
I will. All right, buddy. You take care.